to ask the Scottish Government what new action it will take to support fisheries in the light of the EU-UK agreement.
Cabinet Secretary Mary Goujon.
As set out in the programme for Government, we will continue to champion and support Scotland's world-leading fishing sector to maximise fishing opportunities and modernise, delivering technical and management improvements through the future catching policy and our inshore fisheries management improvement programme. The EU-UK trade deal agreed by the UK Government disadvantages the Scottish catching sector. The deal merely perpetuates the arrangements that had been agreed by the previous Conservative Government and their failure to protect our fishing communities. That's why I'm calling for a fair share of the Fishing and Coastal Growth Fund budget allocation to be devolved and administered in partnership with Scottish stakeholders, reflecting the size and importance of fishing to Scotland.
Stephen Kerr.
Well, that answer confirms that the SNP government doesn't have a clue whether it actually supports Scottish fishing, because on the one hand, John Swinney has said the UK government has surrendered the Scottish fishing industry, but on the other hand, he's campaigning to rejoin the European Union, which would result in a return to the disastrous common fisheries policy, which is even more damaging for Scottish fishing. So what is worse for Scottish fishing, the sellout by the Labour government or the hypocrisy of the SNP?
Cabinet Secretary.
I'd say it's the sellout of the Tories and the UK government. Yeah, exactly. Now, the Tories would like to touch on our position when we're an independent country, which I'm more than happy to talk about and to set out. And we've actually set out our position quite clearly in a paper that we published. Mr Kerr might like to take a few moments to read it as part of the Building a New Scotland series, where we talk about our marine industries and talk about the benefits of Scotland as an independent country, independent in its own right, with a seat at the negotiating table in the EU. Because one thing is for sure, we can negotiate for our own interests there when we're independent, because whether it's Labour or Tory, the UK government can't be trusted to do it.
Briefly, Gordon MacDonald.
Following Brexit, the Tories delivered a disastrous deal to our fishermen, and Labour has locked them into the same deal for 12 years, and something both parties should apologise for. Can the Cabinet Secretary set out how the Scottish Government has supported fishers and fishing in coastal communities over the course of this Parliament?
As briefly as possible, Cabinet Secretary.
Thank you, and I want to thank Gordon MacDonald for that question, because we are committed to supporting our fishing sector in Scotland, and we have a strong track record when it comes to that. Now, we've set out our overarching policy as part of our future fisheries management strategy and the delivery plan, which we actually published a couple of months ago, to set out how we are delivering on that. And of course, since 2021, we've continued to invest around £9 million each year in our science capabilities, which underpin the important work that our catching sector do. And then on top of that, we have the Marine Fund Scotland, which has delivered over £55 million to over 300 projects since 2021. So we have delivered for our Scottish fishing industry and our communities, and we'll continue to do that.
And Rhoda Grant.
The distribution of fishing quota remains in the responsibility of Scottish ministers. Therefore, can I ask how the Cabinet Secretary will ensure that this public asset remains in public hands and is used to ensure that inshore operators and new entrants have better access to the industry, and it is leased in a way that ensures that cases of modern slavery and human traffic are consigned to history?
Cabinet Secretary.
There are a number of matters, important matters, which Rhoda Grant has raised in her question to me there, that I'm more than happy to follow up specifically on. We did consult on some of those matters recently, and of course we always aim to do that in a fair and equitable way. But in relation to some of the substantive matters, I'm more than happy to follow up in writing.
Question